Okay, hello, good morning. Thank you all for coming and welcome to Programs 101 hosted by the Yolo County Resource Conservation District. And thanks to Miranda and Yolo County Farm Bureau for making the space available for this event. So for those of you who don't know, the Yolo County Resource Conservation District, or RCD, is a locally led government agency, non-regulatory, and I have my notes here because I couldn't memorize them this morning. And then it provides, it's a special district, like a fire district or a water district. They provide services in their service areas. Yolo RCD provides services in Yolo County for natural resources conservation and the like. We're guided by a volunteer board and who are appointed by the Board of Supervisors, and we represent the district and help the RCD set program priorities and oversee the use of public funds. So there are three main programs at the RCD, program areas. There are, I'm not gonna remember them, farm and ranch, habitat restoration, and fire resilience. Examples of those are the mobile irrigation lab and the Arundo eradication project that's going on along Cache and Puda Creeks. And the RCD also hosts or coordinates the Yolo County Fire Safe Council. So, that's the role of the RCD, is to track resource issues and provide training, implementation as the local people see the need, locally understood. And by the way, landowner participation in Yolo County RCD programs is all on a strictly voluntary basis. The RCD has no authority or mandate to require anybody to do anything. So if that's ever a concern, with government agencies, this is a completely voluntary organization, except for the staff are not volunteers. Let's see. So basically, bottom line, RCD is a boots on the ground organization for Yolo County, focusing on water conservation, on farmland, habitat, on natural working lands, and fire resilience. And that's all I have to say. If you have any questions about what the RCD, oh, did I introduce myself? Oh, I'm sorry. I have to start over. Hi, my name is Mark Cady. I am the president of the board of the Yolo County RCD. And I've been on the board for many years, and we have a volunteer board. So if you're interested in getting involved with the RCD, talk to me or to Heather, who is the executive director, and she will speak next.
Smart. Thank you, and welcome everybody. I am Heather Nichols. I'm the executive director of the RCD. I just wanted to, I'm really excited to have our second annual Programs 101. This is not something we invented. We're copying Glenn County RCD, so if you ever go up there, they really started this idea, and the idea is to have a short, this is a 2-hour program. You will be able to meet, I know there's a lot of acronyms in the room in terms of programs for farmers and ranchers. We're here to break that down and put a face to the name. You'll be able to see like short overviews of all of the programs that are available right now from the people that you would need to talk to apply for those programs. And then we'll go through kind of that 1 hour of, seven or nine different talks. You'll get to understand those a little bit. You also have in your packet, so please make sure you grab one of those folders if you would like. It's got extra information, further information that you can take with you. And then after those presentations are over, you'll have a chance to ask questions to the entire group of speakers. We do that for about 20 minutes, and then you can leave, or you could leave anytime, obviously. This is non-mandatory, but we'll give, about half an hour's time just to have one-on-ones. If there's somebody in particular you want to talk to or introduce yourself to or ask questions to, one-on-one, we'll all be sticking around for that half hour. So we just want to make sure your time is well, we take good care of your time, because we know time is really important in the farming community, and that we give you the information you need. We also curated the program to be only programs that provide you funds or provide free services. So that's the idea. Please let us know what you think about it, what else you want to learn about. We want to do these every year. And then you can get on with your day and know a little bit more about all of the ABC soup of all these programs and all these different organizations and agencies. So without further ado, I want to introduce Sarah Lipschitz from the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, and she will talk about their programs. Thanks, Sarah. And then do you know who's coming after you? Okay. Just each speaker introduce the next person.
And briefly, that last slide, between every slide, there's a QR code. If you can't see something, just want to follow along on your phone, you can do that. Between each presentation, we'll have that QR.
Good morning, everybody. So my name is Sarah Lipschitz. I'm a soil conservationist with the USDA NRCS office here in Woodland. I cover all of Yolo County. Really excited to just talk about very briefly our programs and hope to connect with some of you and share just some information that can be helpful. Okay, so just a brief overview. Our agency works with private landowners exclusively. So we are trying to implement conservation projects on private lands. And we were actually born out of the Dust Bowl originally to focus on soil erosion, but we've kind of expanded our purview to look at more things than that. But we are a non-regulatory agency as well. So all participation in our programs entirely voluntary. Also, all service is provided confidentially. And then last point here is that we actually accept applications year round. So anytime you're interested, you are welcome to apply for any of our programs. We do have cutoffs typically in the fall to kind of help us organize our workload, but anytime you're interested, please feel free to apply. So our main program is called EQIP, and it stands for Environmental Quality Incentives Program. And this is kind of our baseline for working with especially newer producers or folks who've been farming for a long time. And we're basically providing financial and technical assistance to implement conservation practices to address natural resource concerns. So that's pretty much just any issue that you'd like to address on your farm that we could kind of tie back to, like soil health, irrigation efficiency, air quality, wildlife habitat, livestock management, things like that. And through EQIP, we're typically looking at 3-year contracts. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but typically expect a 3-year contract. And then I've just included some of the benefits that we can potentially see, which can be improving air, soil, and water quality, hoping to save you guys some money by conserving water and energy, preventing and reducing soil erosion, as well as enhancing on-farm wildlife habitat, just to name a couple. I did briefly want to touch on our other programs that we have. These are kind of more applicable to slightly more specific situations, but we do have these programs, and the first one is CSP. These are typically for folks who have worked with us before on EQIP projects. They've kind of addressed their needs already through EQIP or other programs or on their own, and it's kind of just like a step up, a little bit more of an advanced program. It's 5-year commitment, and then we give a $4,000 annual payment, just like a base payment to encourage your great level of stewardship on top of any other additional conservation practices that you'd be including. Next is our CPP, and this is basically EQIP, but we're partnering with another organization to kind of match our funding. And so in this area, we have a soil health RCPP, which is partnered with Chico State, and it's looking at soil health as a management system. So any sort of conservation practices that fit into that. And then we also work with the Rice Commission to do a waterbird program to create waterbird habitat through flooding and planting practices. And then lastly, we have our easement programs. And these are more competitive, I'll say, but we do have two different kinds. There's the wetland easement where we're kind of creating and enhancing wetland habitat. And then there's also the ag land program where we're conserving farmland permanently from development. And so basically what we're paying for is conservation practices. And these are anything that could be considered structural, vegetative, or management based that producers are implementing on their land. And so I did include kind of the most commonly used practices that we see here in Yolo County, but there's lots others that we can kind of see what fits pretty much. It depends on your situation. It's specific to you guys and your land and your needs. But yeah, here in Yolo County, we look at a lot of drip systems and soil moisture sensors. VFDs are not on there, but look at VFDs, cover crop, orchard recycling, compost, mulch, hedgerows, livestock watering systems, fencing, all that stuff, as well as flooding on rice fields, just to name a couple. Okay, the important part, how to go about getting financial assistance. So the first step, of course, is to reach out. So we're located just on West Court Street. Over that way, about 2 minutes, 3 minutes away. So please feel free to stop by. We're there pretty much every day besides holidays and when we're out in the field, but we'd love to chat with you guys. I also have our phone number and our emails on the next slide, but we're very friendly and we'd love to help. And then from there, we usually schedule a field visit. So we'd like to come out to your property, talk with you about what your operation has, what your needs are, what your goals are, where you'd like to see yourself, short-term, long-term, so we can kind of see where you might fit into a program. And then from there, we help you fill out an application packet. Government agency, there is paperwork, but we do help you the entire way to help make sure it gets done the first time correctly. And then we will build your personalized conservation plan. And that's pretty much any practices you'd like to include in a project that you'd like to get funding for. And we make sure this is very collaborative because we want to make sure it is feasible for you, it's something you want to do, and it's also financially viable for your operation with the cost share funding that we can provide. From there, we go ahead and rank your application against other similar types of projects in Sacramento Valley. And then our agency will pick the top scoring projects, go down the list and fund as many as we have money for pretty much. So it is competitive, but Yolo County tends to have some good success. So I encourage you to apply if you have something in mind. And then lastly, I just have our contact information. Any one of us can help you, and we're very happy to do so. So please feel free to reach out to us, phone, email, or stop by our office. Thank you. And Josie is next with FSA. Paul.
Just keep track of your questions. We'll do that after all of the presenters have spoken.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Josephine Medina. I'm the Yolo County Executive Director for FSA.
And I'm Paul Sullivan. I'm the loan officer out of the Petaluma office.
So FSA is the Farm Service Agency under USDA. So FSA has both the program side. We also do have our loan side. So my office in particular that's here in Woodland, right next to NRCS and RCD, we are going to handle all things admin and program paperwork, documentation, disaster programs, and things like that. If you are going to come in for loans, we do not handle in our office. We're going to go ahead and send you over to Paul, who is actually located in Petaluma. So for the farm program sides, we offer disaster assistance, risk management tools, conservation, cost share programs. They also have a farm storage facility loans. And then loan side, there's ownership loans, operating loans, microloans, loan guarantees, and joint financing. So for program side, we often have majority of our programs, it's related to disaster assistance. So it is really important that as producers, you are crop reporting yearly on time. A lot of the times when these programs do populate, it is pretty quickly after a disaster occurs, and there are certain prerequisites that you will need. Typically, we will inform you of that when the disaster program opens, but it is a much easier process for you as well as our side when it comes to paperwork to approve you, get you paid when you have these documentations already in our system, such as crop reporting. That is a yearly deadline. If you don't know what your crop reporting deadline is, that is totally okay. There are different deadlines for every crop, so you can just go ahead and give us a call, and we can also let you know what that is. So these are just a handful of the programs that we have. We probably have about a dozen running at a time, but these are some of the ones that I would say about half of these we have here, majority in Yolo County. So we have LFP, so those are for our livestock producers that suffer forage losses. We also have LIP, that's our livestock indemnity program. So that's when our livestock producers suffer excess mortality rates, and that can also be due to adverse weather events. We also have ELAP. ELAP is actually our most popular program here in Yolo County for actually honeybees, so all of our apiaries. We cover any losses under adverse weather events, also CCD. And then we have ECP. ECP we don't really have here much in Yolo County, but it is Emergency Conservation Program. We also have NAP. So this is our only program where there will be a cost because it is insurance. So we cover non-insured crops, and that's specific per county. So each county is going to have their own non-insured list. And so if your crop is on that list, we can go ahead and insure you, but there is a cost. And then we also have our TAP program. So that's our tree assistance program. So that's trees, bushes, and vines. If there's any damage or any repairs or things like that, we can go ahead and typically cover the cost up to a certain percentage. All of our programs, there are no costs at all associated to it. It's just that you have to fill out the paperwork, see if you're eligible. So we're always going to try and help you guys out, especially with the paperwork. A lot of the paperwork is very tedious, but we will try and help you as much as we can, as long as you are also proactive in expressing your interest to apply for the program. A lot of times there's a lot of deadlines, and sometimes they get moved or they get changed. And a lot of these programs will come out of the blue depending on the year. So during COVID, we had 2 programs that came out randomly for COVID assistance. And we just had our mass program. We're going to have the bridge program that's going to happen here in February. So it is really important when a disaster does occur, when you do believe you are going to have crop loss, yield loss, in that moment, contact the office. But there's a lot of producers that will contact us a year, 2 years later. We can't help you at that point. You need to contact us when the disaster actually occurs. A lot of times we're going to need to send out loss adjusters. So it's very important that you contact us first when things are happening.
So just in general, FSA for loans, we are a last resort lender and a temporary source of funding. So we help out people primarily who cannot get funding from those other banks or from those institutions. If you have the ability to go to those other banks, then that's the path that you would take. We are supervised credit, so we help out people to eventually get you to a point where you can get funding from those other banks. So for our direct loans, we would want to see a denial letter, for example, from the other bank to essentially prove that you wouldn't be able to get funding from them. So that is one major eligibility requirement. Some others are the credit elsewhere we just talked about, the citizen. I do believe that we can get a green card or some other legal resident card. I need to look more into that. But possess legal capacity to incur the loan obligation. Do you have the cash flow? Is your operation feasible? Do you have the ability to repay the loan? That's why, primarily we don't work with, nonprofits, for example. We're, working with people who can make the money on the agricultural side. Have acceptable credit history. We don't worry too much about your credit score. We're basically just looking for, if you have delinquencies, what are the reasons for those delinquencies? What are your payments in and out for your credit? Those are the main things that we're looking at. And be owner, operator, or tenant operator of your farm. So the two major types of direct loans that we have are operational loans and farm ownership loans. There are some other ones that we have, like emergency loans. We don't really see that often. So these are two major ones. There's operational loans. Those go up to $400,000 for us. Those are for things like supplies, plants, equipment. That would all be operational loans. Labor expenses, that would all be operations. So usually that's either a annual operational loan, so to get you through the harvest. So you just get the loan, repay at the end of the harvest season. Or if it's for things like equipment, that would be a term operational loan. So that's up to 7 years. On the other side, there's farm ownership. So that's anything real estate related. So land purchases, development of land. So, you know, if you're developing an orchard, things like that, that'd be our farm ownership loans. Those go up to $600,000 and have a term of 40 years.
Okay, perfect. So a lot of times when producers come in, they kind of don't really know where to start if they're a first-time producer or simply just haven't been with FSA yet. So these are just some tips for success. We do have our website, FSA at USDA.gov. That's always going to give you the most latest news releases. So when it comes to new programs coming out, program deadlines, things like that. We also have our own Gov delivery. So our office and every county office sends out actual emails, typically once a month, just reminding producers what deadlines are, what acreage reporting deadlines are coming up, if paperwork is due, things like that. So it is really important for our producers, especially when it comes to multi-county producers or things like that. If you want to stay up to date, you might as well also go ahead and sign up for Gov delivery. And yeah, that's our YOLO contact. So if you guys have any questions, that's our office email. So it's me and two of my program analysts. So one of us will contact you if you have any questions or things like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then next is going to be Sarah Garcia.
Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Garcia. I'm from CDFA Office of Agricultural Resilience and Sustainability. Today, I'm going to share about some funding we're getting from the Climate Bond Proposition 4 that was passed in November. So some of these are going to be brand new programs that will be rolling out over the next few years. And some of these are going to be programs we currently have that are receiving an infusion of funding through the Climate Bond. So I'm from CDFA, and our mission is to safeguard a resilient food system and promote an equitable marketplace, cultivating a California-grown food supply that is globally recognized for innovation, quality, and sustainability. And again, Prop 4 is the climate bond that passed in November. This is the Safe Drinking Water, Wildfire Prevention, Drought Preparedness, and Clean Air Bond Act. And CDFA will receive $195 million from this bond to fund the various programs I'm going to talk about today. So these two programs, the State Water Efficiency and Enhancement Program and the Healthy Soils Program, are both in the office I'm from, Agricultural Resilience and Sustainability. SWEEP will receive $40 million. That's going to roll out in block grant style program. And then Healthy Soils is going to receive $65 million, which is also going to roll out in a block grant style program. So this means that there will be a application period for lead organizations that will directly administer these grants to their local region and local communities. Just like, as an example, an RCD could be one of those local partners that administers these funds directly to farmers. And currently the RGA, the Request for Grant Applications, and then the Administrative Procedures Act is open for public comment. So anybody can review those documents that outline what this block grant style program is going to look like in the future as it gets finalized, and make comments and suggestions from their perspective. And that's a really important part of this process. So if you have time and capacity, I highly encourage you all to look at those documents or work with your local RCD or local technical assistance provider to be able to facilitate getting comments to our office regarding those documents. And then these other programs are going to be in other offices at CDFA or divisions, not directly in ORS. but we will be receiving 18.8 million for an urban ag grant program that will enhance the viability of urban agriculture. We'll be receiving 9.3 million for a year-round certified farmers market program. And then there will also be a 9.3 million infusion for a certified mobile farmers market program. So I believe these are all new programs, except for the urban ag program. So the programs that are new need to go through a full process of program development, opening those potential frameworks of how the program would look for public comment, receiving public comments, and then moving on into finalizing and getting that funding out in the communities. But we just want to make you all aware that these are things that are coming along and to have an eye out for them. Again, there's going to be 19.9 million for an invasive species management program to fund projects and activities focused on invasive species control and mitigation. There will be 37.6 million to fairgrounds as resilient hubs throughout California to increase their capacity to serve as multi-purpose community hubs, including staging areas, evacuation centers, and emergency response sites. And then I've heard a lot of excitement about these new programs. There will be a regional equipment sharing program. There's $15 million for this, and the idea is to establish equipment lending hubs around the state. So this is a new program. Again, it has to go through a public comment period. I believe this one will be in our office at Orrs. And then there's also going to be a CDFA Tribal Food Sovereignty Grant Program. This is a new program as well. I believe this one's going to be housed in the Farm Equity Office. And they're also going to be going through this new program planning procedure as well. So I'll tell you a little bit more about our Office of Agricultural Resilience and Sustainability. Everything that we fund is also a voluntary incentive program to support healthy soils, water efficiency, and agricultural and climate sustainability and resilience. And some examples of healthy soils practices that are in our incentive programs include applying organic soil amendments such as compost, mulch, or whole orchard recycling, planting annual plantings like cover crops, crop rotations, permanent plantings like hedgerows, windbreaks, range plantings, and then decreased tillage such as no-till or reduced till. And the benefits of these are crop nutrition, soil structure, reduced soil erosion, biodiversity, water efficiency, and carbon sequestration. And then the state water efficiency and enhancement program supports farmers in reducing their greenhouse gas emissions through water conservation practices. So some eligible practices include water management through installing moisture monitoring or flow meters and in-field evapotranspiration stations, irrigation system upgrades such as drip, as well as retrofitting current equipment like pumps that might need repair or replacement, and then fuel efficiency changes from pumping systems that convert diesel or gas powered into solar powered pump stations. So to stay up to date with what's going on at Orrs in terms of these incentive funding programs, you can use that QR code to follow our social medias, also sign up for our newsletter. A lot of our most up-to-date happenings go out there, such as public comment period or when grant opportunities open up. And I think that's it for me. Thank you. Next is Len Rowe from the Community Alliance for Family Farmers.
Mic check. Hi, I'm Lan Ngo from Community Alliance for Family Farmers. I work specifically around groundwater and keeping track of how groundwater policy in this region is affecting small farms. I work with a broader team, but I like to focus on something that we're offering here in Yolo County. So, these are photos of sensors on wells. And we're specifically looking to fund about up to 6 of these this season. And this is for you if you're worried about groundwater levels here in Yolo County. Maybe you've been observing changes in your region, or you've heard, or you or your neighbors have had to lower your pumps, or you've seen wells gone dry, or maybe there's a lack of data in your region. So we're looking to fund smaller scale farmers and ranchers, so less than 200 acres, who may want a free sensor. So I'll get into that next slide. So this is the flyer, just FYI, so if you want to look at it later with the application. We'll go to the next slide. So once again, how this would benefit you. So you would get real-time data. This might be especially useful during peak season of water usage. It's free, and you can be the first to know if there's a groundwater level issue. You can see it in real time. You're like, whoa, like my groundwater levels are dropping. And you can tell your neighbors, or you can work with our local groundwater agencies to let them know. Next. So there's 2 types of sensors. This one here shares data between you and our local groundwater agency, and they pay for this data subscription. The benefit is like you get this real-time data on your computer. This here in orange is an example of what that looks like. Every 4 hours, it's giving you a reading, and it needs to be within like 1/3 of a mile to Wi-Fi. I want to note here that there's if you're thinking, oh God, like, do I want to give my data to our agency? You know, this is actually just different than a flow meter that says you are pumping this much. This is just really tracking your groundwater level, right? So I just want to make that difference. And there's a second option. This one does not connect with our local agency. It's just for you. You got to walk up to it. It's not fancy. Doesn't give you a fancy graph on your computer, but it gives you real-time data too. You got to check it manually, and you can choose to share that data with the agency. If you're like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a few readings a year, or you can just keep it private to yourself. We want to honor that. And once again, we're really trying to make groundwater, like what's going on with groundwater, accessible to folks. And we're especially looking for farms in these specific areas: Lamb Valley, Dunnigan Hills, Yolo-Zamora. These didn't come from me. They came from our Yolo Sub-Basin Groundwater Agency, and also Yolo County Flood Control Water Conservation District, because they're just missing, they don't have data in this area, and there's been some concerns around it. So if it's you or someone you might know in this region, feel free to let them know about this program. And so if you're interested, it really just takes 5 minutes. We're just going to check your eligibility and make sure that we'll do a site visit, make sure it'll work with your well. And we're looking to install them this March through June. So it's rolling, but yeah. We're gonna focus on ag. There is, of course, that gray area. That's a good question. The question was, is this residential for ag wells? Just because the funding comes for small farmers or ranchers, that's the intention. Yeah. Okay, so moving on from that one, this is the next flyer, which looks like the other flyer, but this one, so we have an event in 2 weeks. It's free. It's for a farmer session. We tried to have a field day, but it wasn't going to work. So it's going to be our headquarters, but it's going to cover a few farmers. You may know them in the region from M3 Ranches, Collins Farm, Full Belly Farm. Are going to talk about their perspective on groundwater, and also some trials doing cover crops, winter cover crops in the furrow bottoms as a way to think about slowing down runoff and infiltrating water. So we definitely have space still. I think there's 10 more spots. And as a little bonus, if you're eligible, you're on the smaller scale, then you get a free soil probe. Okay, next is, this is what the flyer looks like too. And this is our farmer funding database. We'll go next. What that looks like is whenever you have free time, you can just hop on this and look up what funding is available. It's just one-stop shop for that. Next. And in 2 weeks, we have calves annual conference. What that looks like is Monday through Wednesday, there's a bunch of online workshops. And then on Thursday, there's going to be an in-person event somewhere in Sacramento area. And the sliding scale starting at $20. Yeah. And then last but not least, there's virtual office hours from our ecological farming team. You can hop on. It's the third Thursday every month. You can find that in the events on our events page on our website. And that's it. Thank you. Next up is the one and only Connor Higgins.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. All right. Yeah, if you haven't met me, my name is Connor Higgins. I am our Ag Program Manager at the Yolo RCD. Just wanted to reiterate, we're locally grounded. So issues that are important to the community, we try to focus on. And you can go to the next slide. We've got, several different focus areas. I am, kind of working primarily in that farm and ranch technical assistance area, but we go beyond that. We manage open lands. We do a lot of weed management, native plantings, wildfire resilience, home hardening. So it spans a lot of different areas. So if there's something that's important to you, come talk to us. As long as it's relevant for natural resources, we probably address it. I'm going to focus, like I said, on the ag program, and kind of what's been the pillar or the central point for the last few years has been our mobile irrigation lab. This was a program that was started to help producers conserve water, conserve energy, and in doing so, help promote healthy soils and conserving nutrients. And so what this looks like is we conduct irrigation evaluations and pump testing in the field. It's a free program. It's literally just a phone call. We come out and we provide this information. You can go to the next slide. So I'll kind of go through what's in it. We start at the pump and go through the system, kind of stopping at different points along the way. And we're doing pressure and flow testing. And we'll wind up mapping it out. So you can see, maybe near my pump, I got, 30 pounds of pressure, but by the end of the field, we're dropping down to 2 pounds. You can see where you're maybe having issues from a map like this. And that's important to know because a lot of the devices folks are using are pressure dependent. So if you're dropping below that minimum threshold, you're not actually putting out the water that it's designed for. So, I think folks know that, and it may seem obvious, but unless you're going out and checking, you might not realize that, you've lost pressure in spots. We'll also provide flow and application rates. So gallons per hour, inches per hour. We'll do flow tests throughout the field, both in high pressure zones and in low pressure zones, so you can see how pressure may impact that. This is just kind of what it looks like on our printout, so we can go past that. And then we'll also give you an idea of uniformity, distribution uniformity. If you're not familiar with that term, it's pretty much just how evenly are you irrigating. So in an ideal situation, every plant's getting the same amount of water right to the bottom of the root zone. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. But a lot of times what we see is some areas are getting a lot more water than other areas, and there's just this imbalance happening. It's not just water. If you're fertigating, that's going to be your fertilizer. It's going to be unevenly distributed as well. You might be underwatering in spots and overwatering in others, and that's energy costs as well. So that DU, that distribution uniformity, is a good metric for understanding that. A good system can have a DU of, I say percent a lot of times, like 90% or above, or 0.9. What we've seen over the past 3 years, over hundreds of tests, is more in that 0.75 to 0.82 range. There's plenty of room for improvement. A lot of times it's simple fixes. There might be, I think leaks. That's impossible to catch every single one, but sometimes something like adjusting a valve, a pilot on a valve, you might not realize has been knocked. Plugs and leaks. Leaks are easy to see. Plugs maybe a little less so. And so we're out there with catch cans and are actually seeing, is this happening, or are you putting out the water you think you are or not? Can be issues at inlet tees. So yeah, we keep an eye out for whatever issues we can see, and we'll provide that in a personalized report to you that goes to you and only you. In that report, we'll put recommendations based on what we saw in the field. And then we also do pump testing as well. That's something we've gotten trained up to do. And if you're applying for that SWEEP program that Sarah was speaking about, that's a requirement for the SWEEP program. These can cost, a few $100s. So if you're thinking about applying, just reach out to us. Again, this is a free service. And so the program in general, it's free. There's no cost. There's not even an application. It's really just give me a call. We'll go out on a day that you're already watering. That way you're not starting the pump just for us. We typically start around April, go through October when folks are actually irrigating. And we cover the southern Sac Valley region. So Sutter, Yuba, Colusa, Yolo. We've gone outside of that region too as needed, or we can connect you. These programs are throughout the state. So we can connect you with the right person. If you got land, in Tehama or Sacramento, we can connect you. Okay, that's kind of one of the main focus areas, but we do, as much assistance as we can with the SWEEP and HSP applications that Sarah was speaking about. We have funding to assist with those applications as well. If you applied in the past and you weren't selected, we can go over your application, try to improve it, see how we can maybe make it a little bit more competitive for the next round. We have some funding to do some conservation plans. Carbon Farm Plan has been one that's been kind of popular recently, where it's a holistic look at your farm and seeing opportunities for decreasing greenhouse gas emissions or increasing carbon storage. So maybe there's opportunities for cover cropping or hedgerows or compost. It's just an overarching look at the operation. And, we're exploring now potential funding pathways for folks that get that done. I think it's becoming more and more popular trying to figure out ways to fund that. And so we're part of teams trying to figure that out as well. So a good first step is just getting that plan done. And I have an email list I send out. I would say I encourage you to sign up for that. I try my very best not to spam it. I hate getting emails myself. So I send out emails relevant for funding opportunities opening up. And when there's free technical assistance, I don't send out stuff about meetings except for this one, or unrelated stuff. I think Hope's going to speak a little bit more on zero food print, but this is just an example of something I might pass out. Compost connector and the Restore grant, they're offered by Zero Food Print. I think, Hope, you're going to be touching on that, so I won't go into detail there. But if you want to get them, on my email list, there's that QR code. If you signed in, I can add you. And if I send you an email and you decide, I don't want to be a part of it, just email me back and say, hey, take me off this list. No problem. I'll just move your name out of my CC column. Yeah, thank you. Next up, we have Hope. Perfect.
Morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? I want to make sure everyone's still awake. My name is Hope Zabronsky, and I'm here representing UC Cooperative Extension. So for those of you who may be less familiar with our activities, we deliver statewide research, extension, and outreach programming. So folks may be familiar with some of our farm advisors or for example, our flagship 4-H programs. So a lot of programs across the state related to agriculture and natural resource management. And specifically, I manage a statewide climate smart agriculture program. So that's what I'll be talking about today, as well as some funding opportunities that are available to folks. So in terms of the activities of our program, we provide technical assistance for a lot of the programs, some of the RCD and NRCS folks mentioned. So we provide technical assistance in the form of outreach and extension events. So a lot of information and resources to share kind of what's happening in terms of ag. And then we do offer specialized technical assistance for some of the programs that Connor and Sarah Garcia mentioned. So the SWEEP program focused on irrigation efficiency, and the Healthy Soils program focused on improvements to soil health and carbon sequestration. And then we also provide technical assistance for some non-CDFA funded incentives. So programs like the Zero Food Print grants, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we also provide specialized support and technical assistance to non-English speaking, as well as small scale producers. So that's something else to note. And then in terms of technical assistance, like many of the partners in this room, we provide both pre-award and post-award technical assistance. So what we mean by pre-award is anything that sort of happens before someone may receive a financial incentive. So these could be activities like conducting site visits and designing a project to kind of understand what makes sense for someone's specific agricultural operation. We also help with the submission of applications to CDFA and non-CDFA programs. And then if someone does get awarded for one of the financial incentives that some of the folks over here mentioned, we support with all aspects of project implementation. So that could mean supporting soil sampling and helping to collect field measurements about how these practices are actually doing in the field and changes to things like soil health over time. We also support with gathering verification documents because a lot of these programs are reimbursement, so there can be a lot of paperwork involved. So we may help gather that information on behalf of the producer. We might coordinate directly with vendors or input suppliers. So we can do a lot of that coordination and take some of that, that weight off of folks who are really busy doing a lot of other things. And then we also host field days and workshops to educate folks about the implementation of these practices with a lot of the partners in this room. And then specifically, I wanted to talk about a couple different grants that are currently open for producers to apply to. And happy to get into more of the specifics after this presentation. But some of the grants that are open, the first that I'll mention are two programs under Zero Food Print. So Zero Food Print is a nonprofit organization that really focuses on compost, but they've been expanding to some other conservation management practices the last couple of years. So the program that you'll see on the left-hand side is sort of a Zero Food Print flagship program called Restore, which provides grants of up to $25,000 to producers for conservation management practices. So very similar practices to what the Sarahs presented. So things like compost, cover crops, mulch, hedgerows, etc. There is, of course, a scoring criteria, so it is a competitive program. But just so folks are aware, that program will open right at the beginning of March. So folks have some time to go online, check out the grant requirements, can certainly contact me or Connor or other folks if they might be interested in applying. And then the second program on the other side is the Compost Connector. So this is an interesting program because it provides a discount or a rebate on the price of compost. So this program isn't going to fully cover the cost of compost, but depending on the year, it may cover 20 to 30% of the price of compost. So if someone was already looking to put compost on their fields, maybe already had some funds or could provide match funding themselves, this could help boost that compost application by providing an additional incentive. And then the second program that I'll talk about is not a program that I directly work on. And I will give a shout out to Megan Donovan, who's in the back, who leads a lot of this work within Cooperative Extension. But CCOF and several other partners received funding from CDFA for a California Underserved and Small Producers Program grant. So specifically, this grant that CCOF is managing provides $5,000 to $20,000 for hardships related to extreme weather for both farmers and ranchers. So you can see some of the requirements. on the other side. And although you can see that there's a requirement that folks must be certified organic, there is a little note at the bottom that applications will be accepted from non-certified organic producers if funding is available. So for this particular funding opportunity, folks have to show some record of financial losses, and there are some documents associated with kind of showing what that looks like. I will probably punt some of the questions to Megan, who's in the back, who's really an expert on this program. But I did want to mention that this is currently available as a funding opportunity for folks. And that is it. Thank you. Next, we have Tom Johnson from Project APISM.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm the lone guy that isn't going to necessarily be connected to the government. So I'm the Grower Relations Manager for the Seeds for Bees program within Project APISM. So I set this thing up. I got to do a little background. Project APISM is actually an organization of beekeepers and bee researchers, basically. So basically what they do is they're acting as a broker for grant money and research money for bee health. And the Seeds for Bees was born about just over 10 years ago. Idea came up someplace or another. The idea is the beekeepers want more forage when they show up for almond bloom in the spring. If we could get a cover crop out there that blooms about the same time or even earlier, our bees will start working better, et cetera, we'll be better off. It's kind of like, okay, we get that for the honeybees and the beekeepers and other pollinators as well, but we also are helping the soil out as a cover cropping project. So basically how Seeds for Bees works, and it's a giveaway program up to a point anyways. You got to be located in California. I don't care how big you are. This actually needs to be 6 acres instead of 4 acres now. We just had to move that minimum up just a little bit. Be or represent a commercial farm or a beekeeper. So we do some bee yards, we do some beekeeper holding ground type things. We prefer to work with almond growers for the reason that's our thrust. And it's a 2 free and then on from there type program. Basically, the idea was to get your foot in the door, get you used to using materials, how to manage them, what works for you, making it work in your operation. So the first year, a first-year applicant will do up to $2,500 worth of seed. That includes getting it to you. Second year, we'll do about $1,500 worth of seed. By the third year, we can sell it to you at what we pay for it, or we'll hook you up with someone that can supply you with that type of stuff. Like I said, the idea was get you used to doing it. They can purchase it. We've had people that are still doing it 10 years later. It continues to evolve as it goes along. I touched on this earlier, but the feedback loop that we get out of having early forage for bees keeps the beekeepers in business. Bees stay in your field. We're improving your pollination. Luckily, I didn't have to go count the bees, but they said, yeah, the bees work the trees first, and then they go find other things to eat. So you're not worried about that, interfering with that. And if you look around right now, I came up from Modesto today, and there's a lot of fields of mustard that came up early this year, but some years there's not. And that bee's still having to leave wherever it's at and go find that someplace else. So if you can keep that forage within where they're at, you're gonna be better off. And of course, this was another one. Okay, the bee diet consists of pollen and nectar. One's protein and the other's carbohydrate, basically. So it's just like us, they have to be very diet. Almonds are very good at one particular component of that, not so good at the other. Brassicas and other things like that make the difference. As I usually point out, I mean, we can live on a milkshake, but you got to have some vegetables once in a while. Okay. And then, you know, the usual, well, cover crops are good for the farmers. So, okay, soil surface protection. Cuts down on the crusting, builds up the soil, improves your soil. You're going to have better water infiltration. Slowly increases soil organic matter, especially if you manage it properly. And enhances your soil biology, basically, is what it boils down to. As we get more and more into cover cropping, we're discovering that it's not just because we're growing something there, it's because what we're growing there is feeding what's in the soil. And that's what transmits the water and the nutrients back and forth from your crop in the soil. Okay. Four common components of a cover crop: brassicas, legumes, broadleaves or forbs, and grasses. Everybody's probably seen them out there sometime or another. Some are very complicated, some are not so complicated. Okay. This was an old one. Basically, we're kind of rebuilding these things, but what we're offering is generally the pollinator brassica mix and the nitro builder mix. The brassica mix, yeah, is really aimed at bee forage, early bee forage. As soon as the bees are gone, you can mow it. We don't really care after that. The nitro builder is more of a soil building biomass maker, but it has components in it that will support early bees. So, you know, it's brassica mix. It's all mustards. Again, we're probably going to change the recipe a little bit, but not that much. It's still getting in there. They're all tap-rooted systems, all from the ground up, easy to establish, tough, pretty drought tolerant. And the nitro builder, like I said, is kind of more of a traditional cover crop, biomass builder, whatever you want to call it type of thing. Again, the root system's extensive. There's radishes in there, the drill holes in there. And triticale's generally got a very good root system underneath that would tell water infiltration. So that's what most people see. And here's my impact statement up through last year. Like I said, it's been around for about, this program's been around for about 10 years. Started out pretty small. We've gotten up there around 25,000 acres a year that we're sending seed out to that we've impacted on that. And that's what we send out. That's not people that continue to do it after we've got them used to doing it type of thing. So we've done, like I said, there's the pollinator value. Okay. Touched on that. And also on our websites, basically you can find, we've made a bunch of YouTube videos and stuff like that. So planting cover crops, when to terminate it, how to terminate it, supporting your bees with it, from, in other words, getting it in there when it needs to be in there. Truths behind all those misconceptions. Like I said, a lot of people didn't want to plant a cover crop because, well, they're going to work in the cover crop. They're not going to do the trees. It's like, yeah, no. There's 20 reasons to plant a cover crop, and not a one of them's bad. And okay, that's this one here. Basically, application for the Seeds for Bees program will open on April 1st. Google search for Project APISM or Seeds for Bees will bring you to the site with a QR code. It's an online application. We give it about a month. We line all those applications up. We go through them. We make sure you filled out everything you need to fill out. Kind of rank them a little bit by various things. Basically, like I said, we want to be more in almonds, so we want to be in other things. But if you're near almonds and you got vineyard, we'll work with you, that type of thing. And then basically we'll take that, we'll contact you, you contact us back, we'll get it all set up, make sure it's going to the right place, get your order set up. Along about August, the supplier starts calling you and saying, hey, when do you want your stuff and where do you want it? So it's not necessarily fire and forget, but it's not a whole lot of hands-on in that thing. If you had to have a field visit or wanted a field visit or whatever, I would probably be the guy coming out and doing it. That's not a problem. I've been doing it for 20-something years. I'll come out and hopefully diplomatically tell you what you did wrong. Thank you very much. And our next one up is Eden with the Yolo-Solano Air Quality Management District.
Hi, good morning. I'm Eden with the Air District. I'm a planner and I help work on our incentives programs. So quick background, we are a special government district concerned about air quality, protecting air quality so that it doesn't, air pollution doesn't damage human health and property. We offer grant programs to achieve cost-effective reductions in air pollution. And so we offer funding for heavy-duty off-road equipment replacement and low dust nut harvesters, so things like tractors, backhoes, loaders. And we also have some funding available for ag chipping on kind of a first-come, first-served basis. So this year, we are offering up to $1.6 million in funding total for our 2026 solicitation. We award funding through this solicitation to heavy-duty equipment replacement projects. So if you have an older tractor or backhoe or anything that's diesel-powered and you want funding to scrap it and buy something else, this is a great program to apply to. We accept one application per applicant and we award funding through a random drawing. And if you have a really old piece of equipment with a tier 0 or 1 engine that's like pre-2001, then it'll be entered into the drawing twice, effectively doubling your odds. And we're accepting applications until Friday, May 1st at 5 p.m. So again, just going over the eligible equipment. All off-road heavy-duty equipment is eligible as long as it has a diesel engine that is tier 3 or older. That's about model year 2012. The max funding is up to 80% of the eligible costs of the replacement equipment, or $150,000, whichever is lower. And the grant amount has to be based on a piece of new equipment that's within 135% of the horsepower of your existing piece of equipment. But you can still buy something that exceeds the horsepower threshold. And it's totally okay to purchase a used piece of equipment as long as it has a warranty that's, 1 year, 5,000 hours, I think. And then for pull behind low dust nut harvesters, if you have any pull behind harvesters and you would rather have something that's a low dust model that's a little bit newer, we can provide up to $49,000 in funding, or 60% of the eligible cost of new equipment, whichever is lower. And I want to specify that in order to apply, we do require 2 years of ownership and usage documentation. That's things like a bill of sale, depreciation schedules, insurance certificates that list the equipment, internal maintenance logs, fuel logs, hour logs. We cannot waive this requirement. So as long as you have something like that for your equipment, you can definitely apply. And I want to highlight that we do have additional funding out opportunities for equipment that falls within specific areas. These are designated by the state. We have no control over them. And they were found to have overexposure to air pollution. In Yolo County, it includes the northern portion of West Sacramento. The Ochadeki Windhun Nation's land is also eligible, and then the land that's just north of Rio Vista. And so equipment in these areas is eligible for up to 90% of the cost of the new equipment and funding, or $200,000, whichever is lower again. And operators in these areas can submit 2 applications, so you can have another piece of equipment. Okay, great. And then a quick overview of the timeline. We've already opened our program. You can apply now. It closes on May 1st, and then we're planning to hold the random drawing to award funding in late summer. If your application is selected for funding, then we would schedule a pre-inspection. I would come on site to just verify that your existing equipment runs and look at the serial numbers. Then you would enter into a grant agreement. And after the grant agreement, you'd be able to purchase your new equipment, have your old equipment scrapped, and send us the final pieces of paperwork to be reimbursed. And that's the link to the application. So if you want to apply, scan that now. It is online. It's a little bit different than how we've done it in the past. So if you need any help, feel free to call us, email us, come into our office. If you don't have access to a computer, we can also definitely help you out. If you just bring the forms with you, the documents, then we can submit this application for you. So definitely we want to work with you. Thank you. And I think I'm last.
Stay up there, and then if all the speakers could come up, we'll have Q&A.